Hello and welcome to episode 85 of PauseCast. It is June the 7th, 2018. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Matt Kenner, I use he, him.
I'm joined as well by a special guest.
Hi everyone, known largely around the internet as Yardgnome, also known as John. Great to be here today.
And what pronouns do you use?
I use they, them pronouns.
Excellent. Gotta ask you a question, Gnome, before we get too deep into actually talking about video games, the whole stated purpose of this fucking show.
Got it.
Why did you name yourself after the worst lawn ornament? I have to know.
It was an effort to choose a brand that I felt could be consistent and untouched in most places I would go on the internet. Basically, I wanted to make an account on the Penny Arcade forums, and I needed to come up with a username. And I was like, this one won't be taken. And I was like, this is not going to be taken anywhere else, I don't think. And that has proven largely true over the years.
Except for, like, the one place that you might want it to be consistent, which is Twitch.
Technically, too,
which is a
then.
Bummer.
The numbers, the numbers are from just a burner Xbox Live account back when I was young, poor, and getting those free months that you would get from making new accounts. And then I go to make an account on Twitter, and unfortunately, Yardgnome had been grabbed. And when I go look at it now, it's someone who has not logged into the account for, if I remember correctly, over like 8 years.
Oof.
And I'm like...
No, I had the exact same problem when I first signed up to Twitter. My handle would have been completely different. It would have been the one I've used on forums and stuff since I was like 17. But it was taken by someone who had, I think, never tweeted and hadn't logged in for a couple of years.
I mean, the plus side is that, like, Honest Universe is a very good handle for you.
I'm happy with it now. But at the time, it delayed my getting onto Twitter for quite a while.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Brand consistency is extremely important in the modern era.
It is. Like, you have to be...
I'm not joking.
No, like, you have to be able to, like, log on to someone's Twitter and, like, be able to go to their Twitch by the same extent, or, like, whatever. The brand consistency is very important. I still need to, like, get a domain for, like, my new updated username. Haven't done that yet.
I need to go that link. I don't have the centralized page yet.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet on this username.
I made a website that is my old username.com in like 2007 that I think is, or 2009 that is still around and hasn't been updated since like 2010. So that's fun.
Where's those domain fees coming from? Just from an automatic bank account, or is it just self-perpetuating?
I've got a few domains. I keep it up because it's where I've got a bunch of modding tutorials for older Bethesda games. Oh, so it's worth keeping around.
We're talking like Morrowind older?
Not that old. I started with Oblivion.
Okay.
And then got really into it in Fallout 3. But it's still around for that.
Speaking of Bethesda, this is like on topic now, finally. I got a thing that I would recommend that folks check out because I had a really good time watching it last night. And that is NoClip's documentary on the history of Bethesda.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and specifically around like the Elder Scrolls and Fallout and kind of how Todd Howard's rise happened.
the ascent of Todd.
The Todd's great ascent is chronicled in detail in that I think it's like an hour and a half long documentary.
Yeah.
It is really, really interesting. I would highly recommend watching it.
What was it called again?
Just the history of Bethesda Game Studios.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and second that recommendation.
Yeah, it's real fucking good.
Because I sat down and watched it over the span of like 2 sittings. Because like you said, it was about an hour and a half long, and I love those kind of behind the scenes things. What's super interesting coming up from them is the video they have coming out. I think it's next week. That's going to be going into the development of Fallout 76. Which the idea of getting into some active press on a game like while it's still in development. I love the sound of that. That's not something that you see in the games industry currently, and I think it's not sad in like a bad way, but it's sad in I think it would be great for developers and fans alike if the industry could be more open like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So this is a third party doing the coverage, not a development studio putting out its own press about its own development.
That's correct.
Wow.
It is
That's
a
cool.
crowd-funded documentary series about video games. It's Danny O'Dwyer, formerly of GameSpot.
Oh, yeah.
See, the thing about, like, games as a culture right now is the culture of secrecy. Like, around E3, like, we talked last week about, oh, yeah, it's leak week. You know, all this information is kind of pouring out.
Can you believe E3's already half over? And it hasn't even started? What the hell is going on? Between leaks and all of these early announcements, like, why did I see what would have been a segment of Sony's press conference any other year during the Destiny 2 reveal? The Forsaken reveal? That would have been a big chunk of Sony's time.
Well, I mean, they had that fancy, like, Vidoc to show off, and I think they are actually still showing more of Forsaken off on Sony's stage. Like, I think it's still
absolutely.
A substantial chunk.
Absolutely. But more and more developers are following, not intentionally probably, but Nintendo's lead and almost getting in front of E3.
I think it's like, it's not a bad strategy for them from a marketing perspective, because the more that they can actually raise awareness of, like, hey, look, this thing exists, you'll see more of it at E3. Mm-hmm. Like, that is extremely good press for them. And it gives people a reason to tune into E3 and keep those E3 numbers up. Like,
absolutely.
It's a good piece of marketing for them. I just wish we had more information about, like, you know, once a project has reached a stage where it becomes relatively concrete, like, hey, we're working on this, it's in this stage of production, and, you know, there's some clarity around what that stage means, and it's like, it's not definite yet, but, like, we've started doing some preliminary work and started writing it. I'd love to know when these sorts of projects are, like, being started, even if it means, like, I guess there's not a lot of hype that is possible to come from, like, E3 and stuff. Like, I wouldn't mind that aspect of things going away a little bit more, almost.
I think an interesting parallel, and it's not something that I keep up with, so this is kind of more of a casual observation, is with the films industry. That, like, is almost an open book in terms of, you hear about projects getting directors, losing directors, getting new actors, losing them, projects starting, projects getting canceled. And that's just the assumed way things work there. And I know it's not quite a one-to-one parallel, but we don't see anything even close to that in games a lot of the times.
Yeah, no, I would love to see something closer to that film model, where we're finding out, like, all of that information as it's happening, because people still get really excited when, like, the first trailer for a project drops.
Absolutely.
Like, that is a thing that people get excited for. Like, they've known the project has been in development, it's got some studios that they love, and it's got the directors and actors that they love, and then they see it all come together for the first time, and that excitement is still very much there. And games, it's like everything's a big secret, and then we suddenly know, oh yeah, the thing exists, and here's who's working on it.
Or it gets ruined by a leak before they have any chance to present the information in the manner that they want it to begin with. And that just leads to things tightening, which only makes the problem worse. So, just open the doors.
Yeah. So let's take a peek. And
just
I've,
a little one. Tiptoe around it.
I feel like it also almost contributes to, like, the mythos of, like, game development. Like, you hear, like, people saying, oh yeah, the online multiplayer, they could add that in, like, a day. What? Like, I'm a developer, Mark is a developer, we know that these things do not happen overnight.
You just hit the Unity switch.
That's
game
right.
is made in Unity. Unless it's bad, then that's a bad thing.
Oh, and then it's made in Unreal.
Yeah, you just turn on the enable multiplayer switch and recompile it, and you're done. It doesn't even take a day. It takes more like an hour to just compile.
Yeah,
easy.
But, like, for real though,
that.
like, if we can clear up the misconceptions around, like, how long a game actually takes to develop, and how long,
holy crap,
and how long DLC takes, and when the DLC actually starts being developed. Like, you think about the rapid turnaround of a lot of season passes and stuff, right? That's because these things have been in development for months before the game is even finished and announced. Like, DLC 1 for Destiny would have been in the work for probably, three
Destiny
3
might not
months?
be the best example because they tend to like throw those things together in like 8 to 9 weeks.
I feel like the the Warmind stuff was put together.
The
as
Warmind
Curse
definitely
was like close to release.
Yeah, that tracks. I think.
I believe they spoke about that on one of their like Warmind Vidocs.
I think another important side effect of opening up the industry would also to be, I think it would potentially help garner a little bit of sympathy for the people who work within the industry as well, because we were talking about like there's the disconnect of just flip the switch and turn the multiplayer on. Well, if you also get an idea that no, it took a team of 20 people 2 years to get that multiplayer working, well then maybe you might understand a little bit when they want to get a bit more royalties off of what they're working on.
Yeah, like then we start getting into like issues of labor, and we start getting into like,
we do.
Crunch. We start getting into the crunch issue that is ever so prominent in the games industry, especially in larger games.
Yes.
I recently as well saw, and I'll pull a source for this, but there was an interview with developers of the game Minute talking about how they were just like very, very anti-crunch and how they developed that game in a very healthy manner for them. So I need to find that interview, but that was done recently, and like that shouldn't feel like a revolution.
It shouldn't be newsworthy.
Yeah, it shouldn't be newsworthy. Hey, look, these game developers for this game didn't like work themselves to death over the course of several weeks, and like there was stuff around God of War with Cory Barlog talking about like, oh, I spent like days and days in the studio, and like I didn't see my family for days at a time, and like when I came back to them, like my son was feeling disconnected, and like you crunched. It is such a toxic problem.
What lesson did you take away from the game that you made?
Boy. Pick up that can. Should we talk about the video games that we've been playing this week, or do you have something else? No.
No, I think we can move along.
All right, let's talk about the video games we've been playing. Gnome, you're the guest. I want you to go first. What have you played this week?
So I've been hopping between a few different titles for the past few. I'm gonna go ahead and since I'm the guest, I'm gonna take a little bit of leeway and throw in the past week or two.
Sure.
So last week, a game called Dauntless came out into open beta, and the elevator pitch on that is free to play Monster Hunter because Capcom hasn't gotten Monster Hunter World out on PC yet.
Right, because that's not due until September or something, is it?
Does it even have a date yet?
I think, we talked about this last week, I think, and I was pretty sure that the date on the PC release of Monster Hunter World has been removed for the time being.
I think that's my understanding as well.
Yeah, it's not even listed on Steam at the moment, for what it's worth.
Right, yeah, just a quick Google, it seems like it hasn't been confirmed. I was sure I had seen something. I might be misremembering. Or
I believe the initial release was, in fact, scheduled for a September or October release. And then that has since vanished for some reason or another.
It's ridiculous. They just need to turn on the PC switch.
Yep, turn on, just compile for PC. It's all fine.
Yeah.
But so Dauntless is a free to play. It's a monster hunting game, and I mentioned this in the pre-show. This is coming from the perspective of someone who has never played more than approximately 20 minutes of any Monster Hunter game ever, and that's total.
Sure.
This game has been doing Dauntless. It's been doing a great job of onboarding me as a player who's completely new to this type of game. Right. So it starts you off with a tutorial, drops you off into the world. The atmosphere of the game is it's like Sky Pirates, and
yeah. So I've got the open beta trailer running silently as you talk, and they had the skyship there that looked really cool.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but something has happened to the world that has caused it to splinter off into all these floating islands. And on these different islands, are home to different beasts called behemoths. And so you as a hunter go out to these different islands. The game has quests, but past the quests, the progression in the game is building. It's hunting specific behemoths, and it's building and upgrading new sets of armor and weaponry off of the behemoths that you kill. And the weapons are a lot of fun. They all have their own unique combos that are... Each one only has like 3 or 4 different moves in its move set, but you can link them together and they play really well. Like, you have your standard sword, you have an axe. What I've been playing with a lot is a hammer that is also effectively a shotgun. And what you can do is you can left click to do hammer swings, and you can right click to just fire off a shotgun blast. But it also has a timing mechanic to it, to where you hit your left click, and while you're swinging, but before the attack hits, you right click, and you'll augment the attack with the shotgun blast. And then you can combo that attack into another one. And if you get the... Actually, let me explain this system first. So the shotgun has an active reload system similar to Gears of War. So that's something that you're doing in the middle of combat, is you're getting off a 4-hit combo, rolling out, triggering your reload, hitting it in its window to get your double damage bullets. If you fail to hit it, you get single damage bullets. If you mess up, the gun jams, locking you in place for a few seconds as you unjam it, and then it reloads with those single damage bullets again.
So what you're telling me right now is this is Far Cry 2.
In that, at least with that one weapon, a little bit. You've got to be good with your reloading. But
the way you're describing it makes me think a lot of the gun lance weapon in Monster Hunter.
I wonder why there's that similarity. That's weird.
It sounds cool. I just in like a minute managed to download and install it. I thought I'll start the download. It might be done by the time the show is done. No, it's
not a big game, really if I remember correctly. It's only like 5 gigs. Is that correct?
I think it uses like a really like cell shaded, very simple style, doesn't it? Like it's not exactly like loading ultra high res, very detailed assets.
It's Unreal Engine, although its optimization is a little rough currently, as it's still in open beta. Yeah. You can tell that they did not expect the level of attention they got with this game, and they ended up literally stating this in a Ask Me Anything on Reddit, where they were like, we expected about 75,000 people playing, and they said they got somewhere over 300,000 on the first day, and that only went up. When the game first came out, there were queue times of 6+ hours, which have since been removed. It is at 0 queue currently, before anyone who's listening gets any kind of concern that you're going to be sat around for that amount of time. It's at 0 queue, you don't have to worry about that. The
concern that starts with me is this a game that you can play on your own, or do you have to play with other people?
You can, on a completely technical sense, I know that you can play by yourself. I've never attempted it. I don't know the viability of that, but you can, in fact, do a private hunt, and it does not force you to matchmake with other players. Otherwise,
if it's anything like Monster Hunter, it'll probably be scaling health to the amount of players in your party.
Not sure. Like, I've only done match-made hunts, or hunts with friends where we filled out the rest of the party through matchmaking. I can't say that I've had any negative experiences with the communities because while doing that, though. So
I'm just always wary myself of playing with randos. That's all.
Completely understandable. One of my concerns with the game, and admittedly, it's still showing me new content. I'm a bit concerned about the longevity because there's only 5 weapon types. So like you're hunting the fire monster to build the fire sword, but there's a sword, there's an axe, there's a hammer. There's basically Kratos' weapons from the original God of War, the Chaos Blades. Mm-hmm. It's 2 like handheld scythes that you can like sling around and use as projectiles, and it has spinning attacks. And then there are lances. I haven't actually unlocked those yet. But in the hunting that I've done so far, well, that's actually the thing. I wouldn't really describe it so much as hunting as you just kind of run in a direction until you find the thing, and then you fight it until you either kill it there or it runs off, and then you run in a straight line to the next place that it ran to. I was hoping, and maybe there's more of this as I find my way through the game, I was hoping for more actual hunting in this Monster Hunter style game. Because right now it's just kind of Monster Fighter, which is still, I'm having a great time with that. But
to be fair, if we are comparing it with Monster Hunter, what you've described is very much how Monster Hunter has typically worked. Monster Hunter World's adding of like footprints and stuff is a new addition in that. Previously it was run around until you find the monster and then fight it until you kill it or it runs away. And if it runs away, run after it and then fight it again. So it sounds like that loop at least is the same as
they've got
Monster
it
Hunter.
Basically.
They've. It sounds like they've crushed it. Based on
well, like I said, I'm only
not to say it wouldn't be improved by adding more of the stuff you're describing, but as someone who has played too much Monster Hunter, that sounds familiar to me.
All right, like I said, complete noob on the Monster Hunter side. But I've been having a lot of fun with the game otherwise. I worry that it may get a bit grindy, but I think that's the point if you're super into this kind of gameplay. Mm-hmm. It does have daily and weekly quests. There are different factions for you to rank up who will provide you with different rewards. I haven't seen anything that seems like it's going to change that core loop too much, though, of find the weapons you like, grind the monster that you need to grind, to get more of, to either upgrade a weapon or to find new weapons. But like I said, it's only, you're only going to build like the fire version of the spear or the ice version of the spear. It's those 5 base weapons. And I'm not sure how much variety there is in the other games, but that does seem a little short because every variety of weapon, like the fire spear or the ice spear, they all play the exact same way. They just have different stat effects.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is what the variety is like, both in terms of equipment and in terms of monsters. Like, are we talking, 5 monsters, a dozen monsters?
I would say I have encountered at least 8 to 10 unique behemoths, and there are also elemental variations of those behemoths. So, like a fire, like there's one that's kind of like an owl bear. It's like 3 stories tall. And it's a bear that is also has wings and feathers. And so it like jumps up and does elemental, like it does like wind gusts at you. And a lot of its attacks are jumping around. There's there's some that are like, I would describe it as like a stegosaurus that can launch its spikes at you. So it does a lot of like trying to land on you and crush you with its spikes. So they're all about the same size, but there is a fair bit of variety in how you encounter them. And there also is variety in terms of like, you'll fight one that's doing fire damage, so make sure you bring your ice set. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying my time with it.
It definitely sounds like if it's just building variants on the like 5 core weapons, then it's probably not a lot of variety in comparison to Monster Hunter, which actually has like a weapon progression that isn't just tied to like elements, but is also like you're ramping up in damage, you're fighting bigger monsters with bigger health pools.
Now, in
addition to there being 14 weapon classes.
Though to be fair, they've built those up slowly over several generations of games.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably worth mentioning, is that this is also a or just worth keeping in perspective. Like you just said there, that's generations of games worth of weapons. This is a free-to-play game that just launched into its open beta. Yeah. So maybe it's not completely fair to hold it to the same standard.
No,
certainly not.
Yeah.
And like if I were to compare the variety of monsters or something, Monster Hunter all the games pull from previous games, monsters and stuff. When you're making the first game and something like this, that's never an option, and that's what they're doing here.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I mentioned it earlier. You can upgrade just the core stats on all the different armor and weapon sets, but I don't believe I mentioned that there is also a mod system. I haven't gone into it super in depth, but as you rank up not only like your core player experience, but also the experience of the different factions, you unlock different, I think they call them cores. They're like engrams, chests, anything of that nature, whatever game you want to pick to equivalent it to. And you unlock those by ranking up in the different variations, and then you open them up and you get different mods out of them. And they'll be like, I'm trying to remember some of the more unique ones, because some are just like plus however much help. But then there will be some that are like 50% increase to critical chance after dodging a behemoth's attack for 10 seconds.
Oh wow! That's
so you can like pick an armor set that has a lot of stamina, because the game does have a stamina system for your sprinting and your dodging, and then like learn to bait attacks in order to dodge past them and get the critical damage bonus. So there is a bit of customization in that sense, and because it's so new, if it takes off, I can only expect them to expand from what's there. I'm enjoying it a lot, though. I've been sitting around like I mentioned at the top, I've been sitting around waiting for Monster Hunter World to come out on PC. And if they're not going to do that, then this seems like a pretty good way to fill the time. I'm enjoying it a lot.
And it's free to play, like you said. Are there microtransactions for them to actually make a profit of this, or is that something that's going to come after the beta?
There are cosmetics in the game already.
Okay.
I don't know if there might be some resource purchasing, but I don't think that would really affect much. That's kind of just like to get past a grind if you want to do that. I don't think there's any kind of like pay to win or pay for power specific. Well, maybe. I haven't looked into it enough to speak with it. There is definitely some level of microtransactions in the game, though.
If you were paying for resources, you would technically just be paying for power then if you're trying to skip the grind.
Honestly,
that would be what that is.
The fact that you've played a bunch of this and you haven't needed to worry about microtransactions, so you don't immediately know, oh, you buy this, this, and this, that is a good sign to me, honestly.
Yeah, fair point.
Oh, there you go.
Like, if they're ignorable, good.
and I still feel like I'd estimate I'd probably put like 15 hours into the game, maybe 20. It still feels like it's opening up new systems and things to me.
Oh,
which is nice. Like I said, I haven't even unlocked the spear yet, the lance class, the last weapon class that you get. I don't even have that yet.
So do they unlock progressively and you have to try each of them out or something?
You don't have to try them out, but you get them by ranking up the weaponsmith. And once you get to every new rank of the weaponsmith, you get a quest to build, at least, and I'm assuming this stops once you unlock the final weapon, but you get a quest to build just any version of the weapons, and the base versions of most things are pretty cheap. It's when you want to upgrade them where the resource cost comes in. It seems like it's going to be decently easy to get access to everything, and then you can spend the time grinding to put it into what you want it into. So you'll at least be able to try everything out to a certain extent pretty easily.
Cool.
Yeah, one way Monster Hunter makes that a little easier as well is just by giving you access to the base version of every weapon type without any like weaponsmith to go to, which means you can fight real low level monsters and stuff like right off the gate. You have a weapon set and can experiment a little bit. But and then you start upgrading everything, and it goes nuts.
There's a downside to this as well, where a new player can surely get decision paralysis when they're confronted with 14 completely different weapon types.
That's a very good point. When I started the game, the game gave me a sword to begin with, and then it gave me access to, if I remember correctly, it was the spinning blades and the hammer, and I had to earn the axe and the lance. So it definitely narrowed it down a bit, and also got me to try all three of those weapons, because I wasn't loving the sword. It's just kind of a sword. And then I grabbed the blades, and I was like, these are really fun. But then I decided, you know what, I'll try the hammer. I don't think I'll like it. I love the hammer. While you're sprinting, you can put the hammer behind you and shoot yourself into the air, and then come down and do a hammer blast onto the behemoth's head. And it's fucking awesome.
That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, okay.
All right. I might need to look into this.
I love the shotgun hammer. I love it so much. It's so fun. But that's Dauntless. Not to downplay it at all. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Outside of that, I picked up State of Decay 2. It's State of Decay.
It's more State of Decay. That's a good thing to me.
It's a great thing to me. Your mileage may vary on how much you enjoyed the original one. Have you put any time into it yet, Jess?
I haven't played 2. Oh, I've played the original, and I liked what I played of the original. I've heard, it's more of the same, and there's some cool stuff around the communities. There's some cool stuff with the which management stuff in general that's been improved. Yes. Obviously vehicles as well have been improved quite a bit. Okay. Fair enough.
They still ain't great.
I would hope that they do open, like, you do have AI companions who open the doors and stuff and, like, smash zombies, and that is a favorite.
You come for the in-depth base management, you stay for smashing zombies with a car door. That's State of Decay. Good. But I enjoy that game a lot. I think it was Austin on a recent episode of Waypoint Radio who described it as a game. He described it as a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You just got to keep filling that bucket. The bucket will never stay full, but you got to keep filling it. And there's something almost zen-like to that. There's something enjoyable about getting into the groove that State of Decay provides, where you never have enough time. You can't stop. You have to make decisions on what you prioritize because you will not be able to do everything. You can't. You will burn yourself out and ruin your enjoyment of the game if you get in that completionist mindset of, I have to be the best and do everything right. No, you literally just gotta get by. What do you need the most right now? Go do that. Those people need your help. Sorry, I don't really got time.
I feel like the analogy of the bucket with a hole in the bottom also applies to games like No Man's Sky, a game which I also enjoyed, and I believe you enjoyed as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I absolutely adore No Man's Sky 1.0.
Okay.
As it has become a better game, it has moved further away from the experience that I loved, but I absolutely recognize that for the vast majority of the community, it is a better experience and probably closer to the thing that most people wanted out of it to begin with.
Yeah. See, I feel like now it's gotten close. Like, even in its original form, it was definitely that bucket with the hole at the bottom. You got to keep filling it up with resources, and that's how you keep moving. That is how your quest continues. And I like that kind of flow. Just, I didn't get a lot of time to spend with that game since I was playing it on console, and that was not my preferred way to play games at the time, since I was not sitting on a couch. I was instead I was on the floor. It was a bad time at that point.
Not great. We've all had those moments where you're on the floor, or your couch is actually just a bed that you put in the living room.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments in our
lives.
I
didn't even get to that point. Like, now I've just got a couch, and it's nice, as it turns out.
Oh, yeah, I've got a real couch nowadays, but those early apartment days...
I feel like if I sat down with No Man's Sky again as a result, though, like, that game, I might plunk down some more time into that. It's kind of weird.
It's a good experience nowadays. I don't want to get too much into it. The story that they added, I enjoyed. I didn't get around to finishing it just due to how long it takes to get through it. The story isn't that long, but it's padded out. When they say they have a 30-hour story, they mean they've got like an 8-hour story that takes you 30 hours to complete, because you have to go to different star systems and find different resources kind of arbitrarily. And, well, if you folks wanted a video game, it's definitely a video game now.
This is a video game-ass video game.
It's definitely a video game. I was cool with it being a beautiful walking simulator that forced me to examine the transient nature of all life, including my own. But now it's a video game, so that's cool.
What else? So you've got State of Decay, you've got Dauntless. What else have you been playing?
So I think it was just yesterday, this fun little game came out. If you're familiar with the developers of Cluster Truck.
Oh, God.
They've been working they've been working on this.
I know exactly what you're about to talk about.
Cool. They've been working on this.
I don't, so keep going.
They've been working on this game for a while called Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, which is a physics-based silly thing where you could have like knights with axes against soldiers with M16s, and there's all kinds of silly weapons and environments and everything you could think to throw at it, and it's all physics-driven. And for the
now, hold on, I thought it was actually Totally Accurate Battlegrounds that crew had made.
April Fools. Let me get there. So, yes, they've been working on Totally Accurate Battle Simulator for a while, and it is not actually out yet. But for the past 2 years, they've done a April Fool's Day, or, well, approximately, considering how far off we are from April Fool's. April Fool's game.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Last year they did, I didn't actually play it, I've just seen it. It was Totally Accurate Battle Zombinator, and they made it a zombie game.
Okay.
This year, as you mentioned, we got Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, which takes that physics-driven interaction system, all of those silly weapons from axes to riot shields to muskets to grenades that you throw and they summon a volley of arrows that fall out of the sky a la 300 to cages that you can throw and trap people in. And like I said, it's all physics-based, so you fire a gun and it knocks you around, and your running animations are all procedurally generated. And on the surface, it's just a silly, fun time. And then you get in there, and this game actually has some ideas to present as a battle royale game. Let me make the case for it. Oh, boy.
Sure, I'm interested.
Up front, it's incredibly janky. They're making this game do things it was never meant to do, and it does not function at its best in terms of performance or just as a gameplay experience sometimes.
Sure.
But you also have to remember it, and I should mention this, if you're listening live, it is currently free. You can go grab it off of Steam. They made it free for the first 100 hours. 100 people in a game, so 100 hours.
This will still be free in the early hours of publication.
Fantastic. And after that, I think they said it'll cost $5, which I would recommend for the amount of fun I've already had with it. So one of the neat things this game does is the wall in the game is a literal fucking wall, and it is terrifying.
Like a brick wall?
It's you start off with nothing visible on the map or in the sky, and then once it starts, all of a sudden you see these massive, like 20-story tall pillars just start floating in the sky. And then when the timer gets down to 0, they slam into the ground, shaking the map and making this like deafening boom. And then the wall grows out of it and connects the different pillars. And then it starts again and it keeps shrinking in, making a physical giant wall that condenses the space together. And it's really intimidating. And then the other thing that this game
That's kind of cool.
The other thing that this game has to offer is the way it does its final engagements. It's so when you get down to 5 people, all of a sudden these hexagon tiles appear from the ground. They start coming up out of the ground at different heights and like at different distances from each other. And after it's like 15 or 20 seconds, anywhere that's not covered by those tiles turns into lava. So the final showdown of this game has those tiles falling away as you have to sprint, procedurally animated sprinting and jumping from platform to platform, looking for people and getting into like dual wielding SMG gunfights as you jump over lava pits. And I managed to get a win in my time playing last night. And when you win,
nice.
It goes into slow motion and all of a sudden things start exploding, and it is a shockingly intense experience that if you took the silliness and the procedurally generated physics out of it and made it play maybe like a more traditional, I would still argue that it has something to offer over other battle royale alternatives. So
yeah, this actually sounds pretty sweet.
And for the price of free, there's no reason to not try it. And even at $5, if you happen to catch this after it's no longer free, I would still recommend downloading it. My character is a wizard with a hat and a pipe. When you're in the all of the character models have googly eyes that like bounce around as they move. When there's text chat in the game, but when you type, it doesn't show up in like a box. It comes up in a text bubble over your head, and your character goes like, blah, 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 blah. But you can also type something in and throw it as a word grenade. And where the grenade lands, the bubble comes up and it still goes blah, 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 blah. This game has a sense of humor. It brought all of the tools. So all of those things that I mentioned earlier, the arrow grenades and the muskets and the riot shields and the battle axes, it's in the Battle Royale. It's in Totally Accurate Battlegrounds. It brought all of that silliness over and gives you an arsenal that's genuinely wider and unlike any other Battle Royale game. Like I said, outside
it sounds like a really fucking good time.
Outside of the silly physics, it's got a lot to offer. Those volley grenades are wild. I would say those are the things that I've spent the most time with this week, though. Dauntless, State of Decay 2, Totally Accurate Battlegrounds. I've been playing a little bit of Arma 3 Exile because I can't get out of that zombie mood, but that's a different atmosphere. That's spend 8 hours alone in the forest atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's just kind of soothing. Not much to say about that one.
I feel like Totally Accurate Battlegrounds is going to be the kind of thing that I really want to jam on at one point.
It's silly.
I'm not into the Battle Royale stuff, but anything that is physics-based that's not typically physics-based and it's done for humor, I always enjoy.
If nothing else, if you, and this isn't to you, but this is just to anyone, if you literally have zero interest in playing a multiplayer Battle Royale game, I still suggest downloading this because it has something that I don't know why this isn't a standard feature in every real Battle Royale game. A damn training gallery, a shooting gallery where all of the weapons with infinite ammo and test dummies and like targets that you can fire into the air. So it's fun to just pick it up and try, because you can go grab a minigun and jump. You can grab a minigun and jump and fire the minigun at the ground and shoot yourself up into the air off of the backfire from that. Just go download it to do that, even if you have zero interest in a Battle Royale game. I promise you'll have a good time.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It really is.
I've got to give this a shot. Mark, what have you been playing? I know it's not a lot, but what have you been playing?
Yeah, no, I haven't played much this week, but what I have done, I have been in kind of a parody mood. So I mentioned last week, I think, that I'd finished the story of Battletech, and that the end game seemed like it had less variety, but there was kind of a sweet spot in the middle. So I went and started a new game, and I chose the pirate start and thought, I wonder if I could just try to like be a bit more piratey this time. And then its slow start and long tutorial kind of tired me out a bit. But then I went to my brother, who owns the PS4 copy of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and I thought, that's a pirate game, I'll borrow it. So I thought, cool, I'll get to just muck around and be a pirate for a while. Except there's so much of that game you have to get through before you can be a pirate.
I recently picked that game up in thinking like, oh, I'll stream this, and then 4 hours later I'm like, I really love a ship right now to start doing this long part. It's at least 3 to 4 hours. Like it is a non-trivial chunk of game before you actually get a ship there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I spent 3 or so hours in it, and I finally had a ship. And then my objective was to sail like 20 seconds that way, and then get off my ship. And at that point, I just thought, screw this, and
you have like an objective there, and it advances the story a little bit because it's supposed to be a tutorial for the ship, I think.
That makes sense.
Like once you get into chapter 4, I think that is actually the point where you are unleashed upon the open world. But until then,
I think I only finished chapter 2 or something.
Okay, yeah, I think at the end of chapter 4, you're unleashed upon the open world.
So I've still got a way to go. Great.
So you've got some stuff to do.
So it was definitely not fun when I got reminded of the whole Assassin's Creed metagame thing, where there's the person who's actually playing Assassin's Creed, and you're playing as a person playing Assassin's Creed, not actually playing it. So I got kicked out of the Animus and was made to walk around an imaginary game development studio that looks like a museum or something. It's huge rooms and flash walls and stuff. I got handed a tablet and told it was supposed to be exciting when all I wanted to do was be a pirate, and I had to ride in an elevator for a while, and then finally I could get back into a loading screen to not quite be a pirate yet. That was not a fun part of that game, honestly.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the game studio that you are in that game, isn't it literally Ubisoft? Didn't they do that?
No, it's
they didn't
Abstergo Entertainment.
Cowards.
Ubisoft, may I remind you though, is in fact in Watch Dogs 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there was that, like, did we ever figure out if that weird fake footage in that mission was like a red herring, or if it actually did mean anything?
So if I remember correctly,
it seems like a red herring. If
I remember correctly, some reporting came out on that. I think it might have been Jason Schreier over at Kotaku where I read this. Apparently that, if I'm remembering this correctly, that is a real game, or at least at the time of the reporting it was, but it's a game that was kind of going through some studio turmoil, and the future of it is somewhat in doubt.
Okay.
Which seems like, who knew that was going to happen? It seems like, hey, we have this game that we don't know if we're going to let it come out and we're going to tease it to we were just talking about the secrecy of the industry earlier. This is a perfect example of that I am doubting that they would tease a game in that manner, at least knowingly. Like, that's
I think
weird.
It's definitely weird, but maybe it was like the last shot that they felt that they had. It was like, well, what if we sneak it into this game here and we see what the buzz is about, like, oh, what is this new mystery Ubisoft project? Like, what is this? It looks really fascinating.
Yeah.
That could be how that was approached. It would be a cool approach.
Not a
I
bad
don't know
one,
that it's necessarily the case.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's what I remember reading on that subject, though.
Neat.
I enjoyed my time with Assassin's Creed 4. I didn't finish it, and it's a bummer that it takes. I didn't remember that it took so long, but now that y'all bring it up, I definitely recall it. The pirating in that game is genuinely fun. The ship-to-ship combat, the sailing on the sea. Short of Sea of Thieves, it's probably one of the best seas in games. And Sea of Thieves just kind of wins that argument by default nowadays. I don't really think anyone can make a case.
It's so pretty.
Honestly, just flat out. That's what they spent 4 years doing in that game, because there ain't nothing else there.
Yeah, no, it's all just it's the most complicated ocean simulation ever created.
And that's
There is no other content.
There's 3 missions and the best ocean in video games.
To be fair, I could watch that for ages because I love watching the ocean IRL. I don't get enough opportunity to do it, but like I love the way that water moves.
Yeah.
It is such a weird fascination that I have. So when I saw the ocean in Sea of Thieves for the first time, my eyes just like lit up like, holy shit. It is mind-boggling in the level of detail that they've recreated. Assassin's Creed 4, for all that it is like super, super good, feels flat in comparison. And that is saying a lot.
It's just an approximation. It's a lot of good effects and particle work to pretend or to make you think that that's how the ocean is doing. But no, Sea of Thieves is actually just, that's the ocean. That's how water works.
I've watched my flatmate play through the start of Uncharted 4, which is set on a stormy ocean, just like the night before I started this. It might even been the same night, I don't remember. And that was quite a comparison, because they've actually done a really good ocean as well. It just doesn't get a huge amount of time in game.
Yeah.
No, it gets like maybe an hour of show time at most.
Yeah, at most. But like the 30 seconds I had sailing my ship to the place where it told me to get off was the most fun I had in the 3 hours I was playing that game. I'm sure once I get up to that point where I can be a pirate, I'll have fun. It's just getting there.
Maybe
that intro is insufferable.
What's that Ubisoft game coming out? Skull and Bones? Is that it? The ship focused one?
It's just the pirating aspect, but it's multiplayer. So like my interest in that game is basically fucking zero.
Is
multiplayer
like
aspect.
For Honor or multiplayer like Sea of Thieves?
Multiplayer like For Honor.
Oh, butts.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Can't we just have like can we have Assassin's Creed 4 without the piratey bits? Or Assassin's Creed 4 with more assassin-y bits for the people who care about the lore? Like, it tried to straddle this balance that just, I think, makes the overall product weaker, and maybe contributed to why I didn't like it as much.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time I think we've seen it on the show even, but it feels, now that I've played it for the first time, it feels like it should have just been a pirate game and not an Assassin's Creed pirate game.
Yeah, or it should have just been, like, another Assassin's Creed game. Like,
I think it's worth keeping in mind when that game came out in terms of the series. It's the first game coming out of the Connor. That was not Connor. What the
Kenway?
What's the guy you play as?
Edward Kenway.
No, sorry. In the original trilogy, the one who
Desmond Miles.
Yeah. It's the first game after the Desmond Miles trilogy, and I think it was a time where they were trying to still figure out what Assassin's Creed was even going to be past that. And games since then seem to have gotten a much better grasp on what Assassin's Creed means as a series outside of that. But that one, looking back on it now, really feels like they were struggling with that a little bit.
They're apparently going into like full Witcher territory and just putting in dialogue trees in Odyssey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Assassin's Creed is anymore. I kind of hopped off that train, not out of like dislike, but I just kind of fell off.
Origins was really good. It definitely took a lot away from the Witcher quest structure and world structure in a way that I really, really appreciated. Like, it's probably the strongest that Assassin's Creed has been in several years. Since 3, certainly.
Yeah, I feel like Assassin's Creed, the stories, both individual game stories and that overarching story, they never really hold me. And they come out frequently enough, I kind of feel like I can just wait until there's one that really catches my eye and just get that one, instead of feeling like I should get each Assassin's Creed game or anything like that. The last one I bought was 3, which I didn't finish. I didn't really get that into it. The whole shoving you into every historical event they could think of thing rubbed me quite the wrong way. I'm borrowing this one to play because it's a pirate game. Like, I enjoyed the first few I played, but I think the similarities between these games, they start to feel a bit tired once you've played 3 of them, and the main difference is just the city that you're in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Which is why it's nice to see them experiment with new things now, so I can just wait until one is doing a bunch of things I like, in a setting I like, and I'll just get that one.
Which one of the Assassin's Creed games was it that presented Karl Marx as like a peaceful revolutionary through like democracy?
That would be Assassin's Creed Syndicate, set in London, England.
All these gamers want to get mad about historical inaccuracy. Where were y'all then? Where were y'all then? Where were you when I needed you?
Where were you when Karl Marx needed my defense?
Marxism deserves better than this revisionist bullshit.
There it is. Should I talk about the things I've been playing? Like, we've been going for a little while here. Like,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I have not talked about that yet, and I'm kind of excited because I've tried some very weird, new, different things.
So what have you been playing?
To start out, I want to talk about a game I spent some time with last weekend, The Crew 2.
Okay.
Electric Boogaloo.
You know how I like racing games? Yeah, the Electric Boogaloo was a sequel that nobody thought was going to happen. The Crew 2 is really good in a lot of ways that really surprised me. Like, I had access to the closed beta, so what I played does not represent the final product. All that jazz. What I did play, though, I enjoyed the shit out of.
Nice.
There is some jaw-dropping motion graphics design that I was just absolutely in love with. There is some really good really good cars. There's some really good sound design. There is a cockpit view for those of us who like switching into first-person modes, which I definitely do.
It's cool sometimes.
And there's a really fucking fun button that I want to talk about in that game. Just
Is
very
it the ejector
quickly.
seat?
No, it is even better than an ejector seat. It is a button that allows you to transform your vehicle.
What?
So there are 3 main vehicle classes that you can drive as in the Crew 2. There is
Optimus
planes.
Prime.
Yeah, I was about to say, is this a stealth Transformer game?
No, it is not. There's planes, there is boats, and there is cars. You can press a button to transform into any one of those at will.
So wait, so every vehicle has a plane mode, a boat mode, and a car mode?
No, it doesn't like transform. It will just instantly hot swap you into the other vehicle.
Oh, I was imagining this like Transformer
it would have been super cool,
right?
I think
it would have been so cool.
I think it should be stressed that when you say at will in any time, you very much mean, because I watched you stream this for a while, at will in any time. So you can be flying in a plane.
I can be flying, yeah, I could be flying like thousands of meters up in the air and press a button and just transform into a boat.
And just see fall down to the ground. Goes.
This sounds like something that should be in Just Cause.
It totally does.
I can see that.
Ash flew up 4.5 kilometers into the sky and found that was the limit. Like that's really fucking high. First of all,
really high.
And then transformed into a car at that point and just like dropped to the earth and then kept driving afterwards. Like this game is not at all concerned with being very realistic. Damage is kept to a minimum, and it has a very arcadey handling model. Like it doesn't feel anything like the handling models of like Project Cars or Forza.
Would you say it feels like the handling model of The Crew 1? Because I know for myself and a fair amount of people that was an off-putting aspect. That game felt it was decide what side of the sim arcade line it wanted to fit in, and so it just brought the worst of both. I felt personally.
Yeah, the Crew 1's handling model felt like really, really loose and floaty, and it never felt like you ever had a real grip on the road. Turning didn't feel natural. Like it felt like they had just ported over the Watch Dogs 1 driving engine.
Ooh,
and I was
bad. Ugh. You're right.
Bad memories.
Oh, that's such a damning way to put it, but it's very succinct and correct.
It's extremely damning.
Ugh.
Like that is the way that I felt with the Crew 1. There's this visceral hatred that I have of how driving feels in the original Watch Dogs game.
It's bad.
Yeah, and it was very much in the Crew 2. There are
two things I remember about Watch Dogs 1, and that is the protagonist is an asshole and the driving was bad.
That's Watch Dogs 1. You got it.
Yep, crushed it. That's all you need to know about that game.
And really. His iconic hat. Iconic in like 18 sets of quotations.
Okay, real talk though, I recently saw a photo of a friend of mine, and they had the bandana, the little mask that Aiden has. That shit still goes off. The hat, not so much. But the mask that Aiden Pierce has in that game is actually kind of a thing that I'm into. It's got a neat little design. Crew 2 actually feels good. It feels like it is very much on the Need for Speed and maybe Burnout, but a little bit looser kind of spectrum of things. Like it doesn't feel tight like Project Cars does, but it doesn't feel like it doesn't have any flow like the Crew 1 did. Like there is a very clear sense of flow. There's a very clear sense of like you have some grip on the road. It feels great to drive.
That's very promising then, because the Crew had a lot of positive ideas going for it, but just undermined, if nothing else, by that awful physics model, and also its bugginess. But just the way it played was not good for a racing game.
Abysmal. So like net positive, that game feels great now. It is. I cannot say anything negative about the actual driving model or even planes. Like planes were an absolute blast. And in the limited disciplines that were available for them, because it was gated to a certain point, it was an aerobatics discipline that you could participate in. So like I was doing barrel rolls and loops, and it was just a blast. Like that stuff felt great. The only thing that I currently have concerns about is that boat races feel really, really flat.
I think that might just be a problem with boats. There's only really so much you can do with them. Unless you want to go full wave racer and have you like cutting into the waves and like having to consider all that, but I don't know if it wants to take it that seriously.
I would hope that it would, because I personally would have, I think, appreciated that more if you had to fight against the waves a little bit more, rather than it just feeling like a totally flat plane that you're going on, where like waves give you something to have to fight against and give you some challenge.
So if you want to think of these things as how they're different, right? Cars are kind of the default. Planes, obviously, you've got that third dimension. You're going up and down a lot, and not just because the road's going up and down.
Yeah.
Boats, the different thing in my mind, I mean, there's a bit of handling difference, sure, but the environment's constantly changing.
Yes.
That's what the surface of the ocean is. So you think that they'd play off that quite a lot to make boat races enjoyable? Or at least I would have thought that would be the way to go.
Boat races are still relatively enjoyable for what it's worth. It is just not as good as it could be, I think, if you added that waves, added that sort of simulation. I understand why it's maybe not happened. There's probably some technical aspects around that, namely around simulating waves on lower end graphics cards, as well as synchronized simulation. Like that's the other aspect.
It's the same as if they just need to flick a switch.
The water button.
The wave racing switch.
Flick realistic water.
The wave racer switch. I like that.
Activate wave racer mode.
When you hit the wave racer switch, does it also come with the really snarky announcer Easter egg from, was it the GameCube wave racer? Did they even make that? What am I thinking of?
I don't know. I didn't play ever.
There was an Easter egg where I forget exactly how you would trigger it, but it would make the announcer just be a dick to you. Like, oh, good job. You pulled into first place. You're so good.
That's a lot.
So yeah, that's like what the wave race switch does.
That's a fun Easter egg to put in there.
Yeah.
That all definitely sounds.
So the answer is yes, it does add that, and you can't turn it off.
Yeah. Overall, the Crew 2, very positive. I, as a big fan of racing games, I might actually be picking that up. One other positive I will say about that game as well, there is actually a lot of diversity on show. There are very prominent black and disabled characters in what is admittedly a threadbare story, but like one of the first characters that I met in my run was a man who was in a wheelchair and still loved to drive because it's a thing that he was still able to do.
Yeah.
It is a cool thing to see. I really appreciated that.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't show up often enough in games. It's good.
Yeah. And you don't, it's also unconventional to think of disabled people as being able to race. But sure enough, someone who is wheelchair bound could very much just as well continue racing.
Yeah, there's like hand paddles in a lot of situations where you can use your throttling and your braking without any pedals on the floor. Right. You do it just with your hands on the steering wheel.
And even then, you may not have your motor function in your legs actually disabled to the point where, like, if you were in a wheelchair, absolutely. You may not have that motor function disabled at all, so you may just be able to control the car as normal.
Yeah.
With no extra accommodations. So, like, seeing that was a very, very good aspect of that game. Just that closed beta look has given me a lot of hope for it being maybe actually good.
I hope they end up doing
a thing that beta. I never thought that I would say about a Crew game.
I didn't think I'd be saying anything about a Crew game after the first one came out. I thought that we left that behind in 2014.
I didn't think I'd be talking about fucking Rage again, but sure enough, here we are in a world in which both Rage 2 and the Crew 2 exist in parallel and are releasing in the same year. What the fuck?
2018's weird. The world is weird nowadays.
It's not as wild as 2017, but like it certainly is weird. 2017 was a trip and a half.
Hey, we're only halfway through the year.
Oh boy.
We're halfway through already. God.
Yeah.
Let's
not get existential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not.
It actually reminded me of something when we were talking about how buggy a game was. I don't know which one. Right before I got the ship in Assassin's Creed 4 and I had to kill the captain of another ship, I killed him, and then he floated up into the air and started floating around the ship like a freaking ghost.
Ghost ship.
It was the best.
Ghost captain.
Like we were fighting I was fighting the rest of the crew, and the captain was just sort of floating around, and it looked like, I think he was probably super still, but the ship was moving in the water. But it looked like he was floating around like a ghost. It was wonderful.
You best start believing in ghost stories, Mr. Hanna. You're in one.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Fuck. I got a couple other things, some smaller stuff to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny 2. I did a raid for the first time. My first raid in literally any game.
Cool.
Any game.
Finished the Leviathan. Yeah, literally have never done like a Final Fantasy 14 raid or a WoW raid or anything like that. Nothing. Just have not.
Well, that's
not
fantastic.
a thing that I have done.
That's a fantastic. Yeah,
so
that you got that done.
Doing the Leviathan was one of the most interesting things I've done in Destiny. I have done all of the requisite components individually before, but I have never done the whole thing in one sitting.
Yeah.
It took about 2 hours, I think, to finish everything because we had a relatively experienced team. We were guiding someone who's completely new through.
2 hours is fast. Wow.
Yeah, 2 hours is fast. It is
a decent run, yeah.
It's a decent run. We definitely screwed up a couple times on a couple of the components of the raid because it's all unique mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
So we screwed up a few times, and that happens when we have a new player with us. But overall, things went relatively flawlessly.
Yeah, that sounds like a good run.
Yeah, we had a good time.
And you said you did the first
I'm glad
one?
that I did that.
You did just the base Leviathan, not one of the layers?
Yeah, we did the base Leviathan, and we have enough people to do both Spire of Stars and what is the other one? Eater of Worlds?
Eater of Worlds, yes.
Okay, yeah, we have enough folks to do those other raid layers, so we'll see.
Yeah,
what's Destiny?
Raiding in Destiny is definitely one of the high points of it. I have not gotten around to doing any of the raids in Destiny 2 yet, but I did all of them back in the days of Destiny 1, and I can say that those are, like you echoed with this one, they not only, to me, were they like absolutely some of the best bits of content and the best times I had in Destiny, but some of the most unique times and best times I've had playing games, just in general. Vault of Glass, King's Fall, Wrath of Machine, all great raids. Crota's End, Great Strike. It's actually a raid for those not in the know. It just takes like 20 minutes and you can do it with 3 people and do it and get flawless raider with 3 people because it's not hard.
Yeah, I haven't even played Destiny, but I remember hearing like when the Vault of Glass, the first one came out, just how impressed everyone was by how well they pulled it off, and they seem to keep that pretty consistent with the other raids, from what I'd heard.
Largely, yeah. The first DLC raid that was Crota's End, like I mentioned, that DLC had some issues, but the other 2 raids after that, King's Fall was fantastic. Wrath of the Machine was a really fun. It was a faster paced, kind of encounter based thing, less mechanically based. Great times, and I've heard nothing but positive things about the raids in Destiny 2 as well. I just haven't gotten to doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely gonna. I think we have a new raid coming with the fall release, Destiny 2 Forsaken, which we just saw this week for the first time.
Is it coming in spring down here?
Yes, spring for us.
Yep, that would be y'all spring. Sorry, I'm thinking about it from my perspective.
And so that's going to be the Dreaming City, the home city of the Awoken. I watched that reveal. It looks really interesting.
I am extremely excited for a lot of the things that they showed.
There are changes in that the Destiny community has been clamoring for, I will say, good or ill, whatever that will bring us.
I largely agree, yeah. Random rolls, is that a concern?
Yeah, random rolls are a concern here. As someone who was more casual about Destiny, and doesn't want to get like beat out by people having the quote unquote god rolls.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. I don't want to have my competitive edge lost if I don't get just the right drop.
It's a completely understandable concern, and I agree with you as somebody who put 1,500 hours into Destiny 1. I don't think that random rolls were necessarily the right answer. I would have liked to have seen them go to a system similar to Warframe, which the grind is to get the item in the first place. If you want to have that grind there, don't make me get 20 bad versions of something to get the good one. Just make me grind to get the good one.
I think that another thing that would have made Destiny more interesting for me would be to take some inspiration from Diablo and start looking at like armor sets like that actually have set bonuses, which has kind of come in for the first time in this faction rally that's happening right now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Because what's happening now is if you have a full armor set for your faction, you get extra renown. Yeah.
Destiny is and always has been at a somewhat awkward place when it comes to like perk design on armor and weapons, because unlike a lot of other games which are more willing to lean heavier into the stat aspect of things, Destiny at its core wants to balance the shooting mechanics and the statistical and armor set and gear mechanics a lot more like 50-50 than other games. And that ends up creating these problems where you can't have the stats, or at least historically, the way they've designed the game so far, you couldn't have the stats matter too much because the shooting has to matter just as much, if not more. So it ends up limiting, at least from the way they've designed it before, it ends up limiting what you can do. With this, with the latest release, Warmind, and with the way they're discussing the release of Forsaken, it seems like they're going to blow that power cap out a lot more. Hopefully that leads to more fun perk design and more ability to build those armor sets and bonuses and things that you've described. Because I would absolutely love to see those things in there as well. I think that would do a lot in terms of giving people something to do and something to work for. And it looks like they kind of are. It looks like they kind of are, like you said. Because there's also the new what's that tab called? It's gonna have it's the collections, is that it? Where you're gonna be able to see like how you earn specific armor sets and what you have so far and what you haven't gotten. It. Yeah, it's either collections or it's something else. But it's collections. Yeah, they're going to be adding a new tab to the pause menu specifically for that. So they're forwarding that in a way that Destiny has never done across the two games so far, and that's promising. I'll never be free of this Hell series.
Bungo has done the space one again. Thank goodness for Bungo.
They're always around. Always disappointing.
They're doing something here. Last thing I want to bring this week as well is hex cells.
Hex cells?
Hex cells, I actually said. It's cells from hex.
Hex cells.
Hex cells. Okay. As in hexagonal cells.
Okay.
I played Hexen.
I'm really fascinated by that game. It is so easy to get into. I had a really good time getting through that first game. It's really interesting. It is more approachable than something like Minesweeper, as much as it may seem like it's more intimidating. But Minesweeper seems like it's.
No one knows how to play Minesweeper. Don't let them tell you they do.
I have an ex-girlfriend who knew how to play Minesweeper. No, she didn't. Yes, she did.
No, she didn't. She just got really lucky. She
demonstrated her skill.
She's got really lucky. Law of probability. I don't believe anyone can be good at Minesweeper. It's nonsense.
That's maybe true. Hex cells was really easy to understand for me, though. Not only that, it's got really, really chill music, and so it was joyous for me to kind of relax and put on a podcast and just solve some very simple logic puzzles pretty continuously, and there are a lot of logic puzzles going on in that game, just constantly, one after the other, trying to figure out, okay, so if this rule here dictates that only 3 can be matching, only 3 of these dots are connected to this hex, and 2 are connected to this other one, how does that layout kind of align itself? Solving with, finding new information, solving with that. I had a really good time with it, though. Just really, really chill experience. It's cheap. I'd recommend picking it up at the next available opportunity that you have if you have even a vague interest in puzzle games. It is very well explained, and there's enough complexity added as the game goes on to keep things from feeling stale without ever feeling too overwhelming.
Oh, so this is not a newer game.
No, this is not a newer game at all. This has been out for several years.
I got confused because there has been another hexagonal-based puzzle game that has been orbiting around, my friends' groups. That game, Opus Magnum. And for a brief time, I thought that's what you were talking about. Nope, turns out there's just 2 different hexagon-based puzzle games, and I got them confused.
Yep. So, the first 2 games here, Hex Cells and Hex Cells Plus, both have a fixed amount of levels. I think it's something like 6 by 6. I can't do math.
Oh, I can't help you.
You want to help me out here?
Nope, can't. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not sure what
36?
you're trying to solve.
36 is how many levels there are.
Sorry.
Yep, 6 times 6.
Embarrassing. Delete this part where none of us could do basic math.
I completely forgot.
I didn't even understand what the thing was. Anyway, yes.
I forgot how brains work for a second. So between Hex Cells and Hex Cells Plus, which are I guess it is only a few dollars to get for both of those games. It's $10.99 New Zealand for the complete pack, in fact. Those 2 games contain 36 levels apiece, and then there is Hex Cells Infinite, which I believe contains the same 36 brand new puzzles, but then also adds a procedural generation aspect to it, so you can play it literally infinitely.
Have you messed around with that part of the game at all?
I have not messed around with that part of the game at all.
I'm curious.
It looks like how.
Sorry, you go ahead.
It looks like how it works is it allows you to use both random seeds or the date to get a puzzle, and that is how it does the proc gen.
All right, because I would I would be a little concerned about procedurally generated puzzle game if that creates content that is 1, completable, and 2, compelling in that order.
It would definitely be completable. This is not a game that I could see that it would be very hard to make a set of consistent rules.
Well, yeah, you just hit the rule button in Unity.
Well, it is all based on logic. There is always going to be a certain amount of tiles that are attached to a certain amount of other tiles, and there will always be a certain amount of tiles that are revealed.
Yeah, it's kind of like how you can generate Sudoku puzzles, a huge number, and they're still solvable with a unique solution and can be fun to do.
Okay.
It's the same kind of thing. I can see how it could be done.
All right, cool.
Yeah, there are rules that can be followed to make it so that the procedurally generated content would not get irritating.
Then that sounds like a fantastic addition to a puzzle game. Then it's one that you're enjoying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a really good time with it. I would highly recommend it. In fact,
nice.
Yeah, here in the States, that pack you were describing of the 3 games is $8.99 for anyone curious.
Sweet.
And there's actually another bundle with 2 more games called Square Cells and Cross Cells for $13.55.
Isn't Square Cells literally Minesweeper, though?
I thought Square Cells was that thing that you made websites on that I hear advertised on podcasts all the time.
Yeah, I think that's actually it. It looks like it's got its own twist on the kind of puzzle solving that Minesweeper offers.
Yeah, it looks like it's doing something with rows and columns, not like for the layout, but specifically like it's calculating what you're doing in specific rows and columns in a way that I don't think Minesweeper does.
Okay.
And I believe Cross Cells does the same.
Oh, neat. If you're into puzzle
Cross cells just to be hex cells with little angry faces on all the cells.
Grumpy.
The grumpy cells.
We've got crossover potential here, folks.
And then Dead Cells, of course, is in the same series.
Yes, of course.
It's a depressing one.
That's the same series. That's on sale right now, too, as well, which is kind of neat. Yeah. Shall we wrap up?
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about video games on this particular episode, I think. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening to us talk about...
Hang on.
Oh, yep.
Again, I want to know what you two are looking forward to playing.
You've caught me out on my bullshit again.
Good call.
Yeah, no, you go first. What are you going to be playing this week?
Shoot, I don't actually have a ton of time for video games because I'm throwing myself. I've got a show next week that I'm going to be playing bass in, so I don't know how much time I'm going to have for video games. Definitely probably going to be playing a bit more Dauntless, at least to like hop in and do a couple of hunts for my dailies. Destiny 2 with Faction Rally out. Got to get in there and support Dead Orbit, my sad nihilistic Peter Stormare boys.
Okay. Everybody's out to get me.
It's hard. It's fine. I've been Dead Orbit since Destiny 1.
Future War Cult for life.
I've been Dead Orbit since Destiny 1. Sad space goths appeals to me on a fundamental level that the other two don't.
I'll let you have your sad space goths.
So Dauntless and Destiny 2 sounds like I'm going to be doing some grinding this week. I'm going to hop into some State of Decay 2 as well. I'm hoping, or not what I'm planning on just starting a new community, because I've had a number of people recommend, like, once you have the basics down, don't even bother with that starter community and, like, the tutorialization and such. And considering that I played the first one, that might just be the best way for me to get into it. I think that's the big three for this week, though. I don't think there's anything coming out that I might be able to borrow the new God of War from a friend of mine within the next week or two. So if that's the case, I'm definitely going to be getting into that. Otherwise, just those three.
Yeah, it's a fun game to play.
I've heard nothing but positive things about it. I'm excited to give it a shot.
Yeah, Mark's been having a good time with his copy. That he's actually done the same thing that you have. He's borrowed a copy from us.
Yeah, and it's one of the games that I think I might play some more of this week, actually. I feel bad for neglecting it over the past week. I stopped at what isn't like a time when they meant you to be able to stop. I stopped kind of in the middle of something because I died a couple of times.
This can wait. That's not that important.
Finish it. Yeah. But I also, I don't know if I'll get further in Black Flag. It depends on if I feel like I've got the time to, get through the bits I don't want to play to get to the bits I do want to play. That's never really how I want to feel about a video game.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But I did spot a game just today that I hadn't heard of that really appeals to me that I might pick up, which is called Far Lone Sails. I just checked it out on Steam earlier. The art style appeals to me, and just sort of the 2D exploration kind of thing, and what I saw in the trailers looks like it's a game I'd enjoy, so I might end up picking that up. Not sure yet.
Is that about sailing? Can I presume that from the game in some manner? Or from the title?
Sort of. You're not in a ship.
Oh.
It looks like it's kind of a post-apocalyptic thing. You've got like this contraption that, yes, has sails, and yeah, check it out. It looks kind of neat. I'm wondering if I might pick it up. It's a bit under $20 New Zealand.
I've watched a little bit of Giant Bomb playing that, and it seems like they were having a pretty good time with that.
Cool.
It seems like it's the year of sails. You've Sea of Thieves, you have that game, you have, what was that game? Raft, that just came out that a bunch of people have been playing. There's a game Maelstrom, which is like a ship-based battle royale game, if I'm remembering the name properly. There's
Sales the new bows?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are Sales the new bows?
Well, bows aren't gone either. It's something from the Destiny 2 Forsaken reveal. They're adding bows to that game. So, Sales and bows.
Oh, God. I don't know why this reminds me. I just remembered something else that I hated about Black Flag. I saw a cat, and I couldn't pet it.
What's even
And then I saw a dog, and I could.
What?
What's the point?
You can pet birds in Assassin's Creed 4, though, and it's the only game in which you can pet birds, and that is what makes that game the best Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
You can't pet the cats.
I'm weirded out that you can pet... Okay, I can maybe write off petting the dogs, but if you can pet dogs and birds, which, not to knock petting birds, that is pretty much the only game I can think of where you can do that, like you said.
Yeah.
But if you can pet both of them, but not cats... What's going on? Who's got an agenda, Ubisoft? Who's pushing an agenda here?
Who's pushing an anti-cat agenda?
The cat was it's the first animal I saw, the first one I encountered. And not because I went out of my way, it was where the story took me. So I think everyone probably encounters a cat first, and you just can't
pet it. I didn't even know you could pet the other animals. Maybe you're right, and I saw the cat, and it established a precedent in my mind. Ubisoft,
I've heard that you can pet cats in Origins, so they seem to have learned from their mistakes. But they haven't gone back and patched. They haven't gone back and patched Black Flag, so it's just frankly not good enough.
If you can't pet cats in the Egyptian-based Assassin's Creed game, you fucked up, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, you fucked up somewhere if you don't allow people to pet cats in your Egyptian game at all.
Maybe I just thought maybe they can do birds because there's a whole pirates with parrots thing.
There is that.
Yeah, okay. Still good that it's in there. Anyway, those are the games that I'm thinking I'm gonna possibly play this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you soldier through that part of Black Flag, there's the game there that I think you want. Although, like you said, who wants to do that? I think it was Guillermo del Toro that said, I don't do homework when it comes to media.
Right? Yeah. If I've got the choice between I could play something I won't enjoy to get to a bit I will enjoy, or I could just play another game that I just enjoy, then...
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about, like, Marvel Cinematic Universe for the most part. It's just like...
Yeah.
Why would I do all the homework on, like, Thor and all these other bullshit superheroes I do not give a single fuck about, when I could just do something else and watch not that, or just watch a Marvel film that stands completely alone, such as Black Panther, one of the best movies I've watched in recent memory.
Now that last Thor movie...
To be fair, I can understand why you in particular, Jess, wouldn't understand this, but I could watch Thor with the sound off and it'd still be real good.
I think I got you, and I think I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some secret code that I'm missing out on. I guess I'll never know.
I guess so.
Thinking
emoji. I heard that Thor Ragnarok is really good, though.
It is. Yeah, it's
that Taika Waititi in that game also owns.
In that game.
Or sorry, in that movie, in that film. I got games on the brain.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of games on the brain, real quick, I also want to take an aside. Vampire looks real fucking interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I only saw the name of that game the first time today, but I haven't seen anything else about it.
I have been following it since it was announced because it is a game from Don't Nod, who made Remember Me and Life is Strange, and it is those people. They're back doing another, like, story-heavy game.
More action-y.
They appear to have... A little more action-y, but they have done a really good job of the narrative stuff in this game, by the sounds of things.
Yeah. I mean, Remember Me was very action-y.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah, that's something I was going to mention, is not to downplay Life is Strange at all, because I think those games are great, and I understand why people love them. But after Remember Me, it is cool or exciting to see them get a second swing at something that's more, I'll say, mechanics. Not focused, but more mechanics heavy. Because I think Remember Me had a lot of really interesting ideas that they just didn't have the chance to capitalize on. So to see them get another swing at that is cool.
The thing that is most interesting to me about this game right now is the citizen mechanics, where like you have people in all of the town of London in which you reside, who are your quest givers, and they are, just citizens of those districts, and they are also your source of blood. Mm-hmm. If you kill a character to get their blood, you cannot get any more quests or story stuff from them. That is it. They are gone.
Just like real life.
Yep, just like real life. Like, it is trying to add some permanence to those consequences of, like, to the consequences of being a vampire. The other interesting aspect of that being, as you do quests for them, the amount of experience that you gain from consuming their blood increases.
So the choice gets harder as you go in.
Yeah, you can increase, like, you can eat them right away, and you'll get a little XP boost for doing so. So if you're like really struggling, you might find that you are compelled to go for a certain character, just like for a quick little burst, get you that next level. But then it becomes a matter of like, is combat going to become too hard? It won't. That's the one thing I've heard about that game. It's particularly weak. That the combat is very weak.
Yeah, I've heard that from a couple people myself, and that it kind of undermines the mechanic, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like if they patch that, it could
patch the game and make it harder. That's going to go over well.
Yeah, I mean, if they patch the game to make it harder or optionally make it harder, I feel like it will actually go over well. Fair point. And start forcing people to engage with that mechanic and engage with that hard choice.
More games should be willing to do that, I feel.
Yeah. I'm really interested in checking that game out, just based on that sort of stuff, and based on like all of the impressions of the narrative that I've heard. Like, it avoids all the usual vampire story tropes and actually creates a really unique setting in World War I era London. Like, it sounds like a fascinating game.
Definitely, it's definitely something. I don't know if I'll pick it up immediately, but it might be like a Steam sale kind of game. Not to downplay it at all.
Yeah, that's the kind of impression that I'm getting right now, is that it will be very popular during a Steam sale. But I think based on what I've heard of it so far, and I've seen a little bit of it in motion as well, based on that stuff, I'd probably still be willing to pick it up, even at a very shallow discount.
Yeah. Just priorities, I think, are in other places, at least for me.
Yeah, or even at like full price if I had the money for it, which I don't. But like at a small discount, definitely could see myself picking this up.
And one last thing, I think it'll be fun.
Oh, you got one more thing?
It's fun to remember that, unless I'm wrong, by this time next week, we'll be in the midst of E3, right?
Oh, we will be swimming in that E3 content over the weekend.
Woo!
If it is not too late to participate in the E3 discussion, I'm going to be hosting an E3 channel on my server on Discord, and you're all welcome to join it. I would absolutely love that. Come on down to discord.bird.school and we'll get you sorted out.
Fantastic little community there.
It's really nice. I'm really proud of this little cottage community that I've got sprung up here. We have good discussions.
Yeah. Like razors in the wall. That's just a thing in the States.
A real thing that happens in American houses.
Not anymore, luckily. We wised up to that at a certain point, but yeah.
Wait a second, they're just putting fucking razors in our walls.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
If your house was built in like anywhere between the 40s and the 60s, there's a good chance that there's like hundreds or potentially thousands of razors in your bathroom wall. Because back in the day, that's just what we did with them here in the United States. There was a little slot. There was a little slot in your cabinet, and you would just slide it in there, and it just stays there forever. Where's it gonna go?
Yep.
Where's it gonna go?
The razor fairy comes and takes them away.
Exactly.
The Razor Fairy. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what the Razor Fairy is bringing me.
Or what does the Razor Fairy do with the razors?
Oh, God, even worse.
It's
let's
classified.
Not end the show.
Yeah, please, let's not talk about the Razor Fairy. We need to end this now.
End the show.
Oh my God. I think that is actually the name of the episode, the Razor Fairy. All right. Thank you very much for listening to this 85th episode of PauseCast. If you like what you heard and would like to support the show, we have a few ways that you can do that. First, you can support us just pretty easily by rating or reviewing us on your platform of choice. It helps with our visibility and makes us feel nice. You can also support the show financially, first by a one-time donation going to bit.ly/pausecoffee, and that will take you to our coffee page where you can donate a $3 one-time donation. If you'd like to support us month to month, we also have our Patreon, which has a couple of bonuses, including access to all of our after-show archives, which I need to... I'm going to be putting that first one up from BattleTech pretty shortly, and I'll be arranging for a second one in the coming couple of weeks. Thank you to our existing patrons, Sammy, Mary, Para, Dove, Corybat, Residoke, Ash, Moth, and Gray for their continued support of the show.
Thank you.
Mark, you are online. Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I write a blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com.
And Gnome, where can people find you online?
If you'd like to just hear my random chatterings, you can find me at Twitter at Yardgnome736. And if you'd like to hang out with me on Twitch and just chill, play some video games, have a great time, you can find me on there at Yardgnome737, because branding is a nightmare.
You gotta get yourself a custom domain at some point.
That's such a great call. That's such a great call. I'm gonna do that at some point.
You can find me on Twitter at bird.school. You can also find my Discord, as previously mentioned, discord.bird.school. We got some podcast channels up in there, including a patron-only one, so feel free to drop into that. That's pretty much the main spot that you can find me. Otherwise, I'm at MaximumGun.org, streaming somewhat regularly. I'm working on it. Hang with me, please. Just hang on a little bit longer. I promise. I'll get better about this schedule. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. You can find Leon's music and download some of it for free at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. And that is going to do it for this episode of PauseCast. We will see you next week after E3 dust has settled. Until next time, see you around. Bird up.
Bye.
Bye.